through mankind's history, we've seen that jinns possess people. They go into the human body and they try to take possession of the people. They can be removed with certain things, the ayah from the Quran, to get them to come out of the body. Now, they're smokeless being. They're made of smokeless fire. We live in different dimensions. Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to give you an idea, He lives in one dimension. The angels live in a different dimension. The jinns live in a different dimension. And mankind live in a different dimension. And the laws of those dimensions applies to those beings in those dimensions. And what I mean by that, for example, when you live in our dimension, the earth dimension, we're fixed with a shorter lifespan. When you enter the jinn dimension, you have a longer lifespan. When you're in the angels, again, a longer lifespan. And when you're in Allah's time, just to give you an idea, one day in Allah's dimension is 1,000 years in our time. So these are different dimensions they live in. Now the jinns can go into our dimension, and going into our dimension they can take human form, they can take dogs, cats, snakes, they can take animal form, and they can take your dead relatives. As many people say, you know, that for example they have some people that may be wicked or bad, and then they died, and then they said, oh, my relative's coming to haunt me in my place because they see a picture of them. Well, really, it's not the human that's coming to haunt you. Quran says you will stay with your body. When we talk about the soul, we're talking about you stay, when you're dead, your soul stays with that body in barzakh. But the jinn is still alive because of the lifespan, so it takes your form, you know, your voice, and scares your relatives, are saying, or friends or whatever. They haunt the places of where their human counterpart used to be, or they want to get rid of the humans from a house or whatever it is. These are jinns that take those human forms. But when they come in the human form, they can be killed in the human form. They're subject to the laws of this reality or this dimension. Now, is it possible to go into dimension? Yes. There was a time when they were looking for the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and they can't find him. He had disappeared. And what happened? Angel Gabriel, took the Prophet into the jinn world. And why he took them? Because some of the jinn heard the Quran being read by the Prophet, and they wanted to become Muslims. So the Prophet ﷺ went through with Angel Gabriel into the jinn world to teach them Islam. So there is in many countries, when I was in Malaysia visiting, there's people that said some people have jinns with them. They have Abdul Rahman and all kinds of different Muslim names. So there are some jinns who have actually converted to Islam or reverted to Islam, and they actually practice the religion of Islam and do not harm the humans. They live in peace with other beings, like which the way it should be. We live with all creations of the animal world, the human, and the jinns and the angels. We live in peace, not in violence. But the Iblis had poisoned the angels with hatred. Poisoned the jinns with hatred against the humans. That these people, the jinns, are always trying. And the Iblis had asked Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give him risk until the day of judgment. So Allah gave him risk because he said he will show Allah all the people he will lead into hellfire. So Allah granted him life, immortal life till, not immortal I should say, but life until the day of Qiyamah, the day of judgment. He was given life extension for that. And Allah will fill the hellfire with him, Iblis, all the jinns that follow him, and all the humans that follow the jinns. So going back more onto the jinns, so they live in caves, they live in holes, they live in washrooms, they live in abandoned homes. There's some jinns that live in the sky, some jinns in the water, the jinns that live on land, they live in the core of the earth. There's civilizations, big civilizations, like how there's billions of people on the earth, there's billions of jinns that live in the center of the earth. There's jinns that live in the islands. Remember in the last couple I said it was important I mentioned about the islands? See, anybody that comes from Guyana, Trinidad, Jamaica, or any small island knows there's so many people that get possessed by jinns. There's so many people see the jinns at night. In Guyana they have moon glazer, they have Baku, they have in many places these people see many type of people doing obia, people doing many different things, voodoo, all these different things, invoking the spirits of the jinns. But it's interesting why we come into North America, South America, the big main lands, and you don't find a lot of the jinns. They're there, but they're not as open or present like those islands. And it goes back because they were cast onto the islands. That was their home. And then we invaded their home. They're cast out from the mainlands. That's why we see those jinns. So going back to the jinns now, we have different sizes, different colors, different races. Now, the Prophet ﷺ talked in some of the hadiths about them. What is the food? A lot of the food the jinns eat is bones of animals. That's why most people eat the chicken, they throw it away, the bones is left over for your brother jinns. Our waste material that we give out is food for the jinns. That's why they live in the washroom. That's why when we ask and we enter in the washroom, we say, "Oh Allah, protect us from the male and female jinns." This is what we say, "Oh Allah, protect us from the male and female jinns," because they're there. They wait for what's leftover materials that we get rid of. Allah gives them that as their food. So this is some things. Now the jinns have been trying to penetrate the heavens, and Allah says in the Quran, "For jinn and man, try to penetrate the heavens, and we will shoot you back with meteor storms." So every time we see meteor storms that happen, this is jinns trying to penetrate, to steal the secrets of the heavens. They try to steal the secrets of the heavens, and Allah repels them with meteor. This is why we have the meteor shower, is for repelling the jinns. Now, there's many organizations, many groups of people that do things and worship these jinns. They sell their soul out, as the Persians sell their soul out to the devil. They sell their souls to the jinns. Many of them do blood sacrifice, killing human beings to actually please their jinns. So the jinns would grant them things, grant them the knowledge. Many of the technology that we have today came from the jinns' technology. Their race was far superior in knowledge because they were older than us in creation. So a lot of things do come from that side. All these things that when people are talking about the alien race of alien ships, it's the jinns. The short ones, the small ones, the ones that's bald on top, the green ones, the lizard type, all these are different ones. These are the jinns' creation and their race that has a beef or problems with mankind. They're trying to sway mankind to the wrong path. When you look and study these things and realize one thing, they whisper in our ears to tell us, "Oh, don't do this, oh, do this thing, go watch TV instead of go pray, go steal, go cheat, lie, don't help the poor, don't help the orphanage, don't do this." All these nonsense that they tell you, they're whispering in your ears. You see, one thing you realize when we talk about in heaven and hell later on, Iblis is going to say, he's going to stand on a mountain, right? Iblis is Lucifer. He's going to stand on a mountain and says to the people, because they're all going to say, "You're the reason why we're here." He says, "No, I'm not. I told you to do it, but you did the act." He didn't do the act. The devil didn't do the act. Lucifer, Satan, Iblis, all of them will tell you, you did not, he did not do the act for you. You did it. He only whispered in your ears. They use fear tactics, like you know how they use in the movies when you go in the basement, it's dark and scary and lightning and all this kind of stuff, and you say, "Oh, you're trembling like crazy," right? They are using fear on you. they try to say and they make you scared. Now, when sometimes you go in a dark room or so and you see something just passes over you, it's jinns. Sometimes you go in a room and all you hear on your hand and your face and your neck stands up, the jinns. Sometimes you feel a presence behind your shoulder and you look and there's nothing there. Sometimes there's a dark presence that you see. It's jinns. This is your proof that jinns exist. They're showing you, you're feeling it. Some people sense them. And this is what the jinns try to use as fear. But remember one thing, in Surah 2 of the Quran, Allah said to the angels and jinns to bow down to man. If you could only remember one thing I say, remember this one statement. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the angels and jinns to bow down to man, making us superior than the angels and superior than the jinns. They know that, but they work on your fear and they try to put the fear in your head. So you remember one statement, you are superior to them. If you remember that, they cannot harm you. And we learn certain things that the Prophet ﷺ learned that no other messengers had. One time, to give you that before you sleep, there's going to be another khutbah on dreams. My favorite subject is dreams. We're going to talk about that. But before you sleep, people have some dreams that scares them and terrify them. I'm not going to talk about, but for protection of the jinns that go after you, the Prophet ﷺ was given 2 surahs, Surah Falak and Surah Nas. Surah Falak and Nas is something you recite before you sleep to protect you from the jinns entering your dream to do any harm or do weird dreams or scare you or lock you down so you can't move. Those protects you. Surah Falak and Nas. And what protects you from Iblis, Lucifer, is that there was a hadith that says there was the people at the masjid and then they have a section where they have the food and this man was going to steal food. And one guy caught him and says, I'm going to report you to the Prophet ﷺ. He says, no, don't report me. I'll tell you something. I'll teach you something. If you recite Ayatul Kursi before you sleep, Iblis, Lucifer, will not trouble you in that night. So if you recite that, he will not bother you. Then the guy went and he told the Prophet ﷺ, listen, this so-and-so was trying to steal food. He told me that if I read Ayatul Kursi, Iblis will not bother you through the night. He said, that's correct. That was Iblis that taught you that. The devil taught him that if you read Ayatul Kursi, he can't bother you through the night. So before we sleep, we train our children from small to learn the verses for Ayatul Kursi. We learn Surah Nas and Falak to protect us from the jinns. Even more, in Falak and Nas, the people that talk bad about you, the energy that you use, the people that blew evil and blow on knots using the jinns to make you sick. The Prophet ﷺ was sick and his body was in pain and everything, and DRALI told him, recite Falak and Nas and blow on yourself. That's why when we recite after the Salat, the Namaz, the prayers, we read Ayatul Kursi, and our ancestors, they blow, after Ayatul Kursi, they blow on the skin. You know what? We call it in Guyana Wajari. You're jarring yourself, you're protecting yourself with Ayatul Kursi for shaitan on your body, from entering your body and doing your harm. And they're saying if you read Ayatul Kursi, shaitan will not bother you from that till the next prayers. From Fajr to Zohar, Zohar to Asr, Asr to Maghrib, Maghrib to Isha. But blow on yourself because you're reading the beautiful words of Allah, of protection on your body. So we read Ayatul Kursi for protection from Iblis and for any pain that he does. And Falak and Nas for even things that jinns come and do you harm. Even people whisper words of evil, even that they blow on knots, all these things. There's between Falak and Nas, there's 11 verses, 11 ayats. Each ayah that you read from Falak and Nas opens the knot that the evil people that uses the jinns to cast things upon you. So these are things I advise you to learn Ayatul Kursi, Falak, Nas, for your protection from them. Now, those are on the protections from them. We talked about their life, we talked about where they live, we talked about where they were cast out to on the islands, we talked about their male, female, they have children, and they're able to move. That's interesting. They're able to move objects. Some people have seen in their house, you know, they put their glasses and their glasses disappear. They put their ball, they play with their children, and they can't fight it. An hour later, it reappears back. They're looking for the salt, and they can't, right in the kitchen, and they go back the next day and they find their things. I can tell you, people can confirm what I'm saying. Things will disappear. The jinns have the power to move things. Prophet Sulaiman, peace and blessings upon him, in the Quran, Allah had given him the ability to control the jinns. He controlled an army of jinns to do his bidding. And Allah says that He had given him an army of jinns to control and move the weather. They can control the weather. And that's very interesting, they control the weather, because now some organization called the Illuminati are using the harp technology, which is from the jinns, which can create earthquakes, create storms, and create things that, which is another subject, but just to give you an idea, that technology came from the jinns, which Allah confirmed in the Quran, that Prophet Sulaiman was given an army of jinns. They built his temples, they built his places, they brought the golds and from the seas, they brought all these things for him. And to give you an idea is that when Prophet Sulaiman wrote a letter to Queen Sheba to tell her to come, he wrote the letter, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. And he to invite her to come and see the empire. And what was interesting, while she was on the journey, which, you know, from where they were, Egypt, to go to Prophet in Jerusalem, to go to Prophet Sulaiman, is a long journey. So he had his jinns, and Prophet Sulaiman asked the jinns and his scholars and his men of wisdom and knowledge among them, and says, I need somebody to bring the arsh, the throne of Queen Sheba, before she arrives. Remember, this is a long journey for her to travel with her troops and everything, is to come to meet the Prophet Sulaiman. Peace and blessing upon him. So they asked, and the jinn said, before the next day I can have the throne brought to you. And one of the man who had knowledge of the book says, before you wink your eye, I can have the arsh right here. So the jinn will take longer to bring the throne. They had the ability to bring that thing, because they're bringing gold and diamond. They would bring the throne of Allah. But the man in the Quran said, Allah says the man said he could bring it before he winked his eye, before he winked his eyes, and he brought the arsh. And he knew from the book of knowledge. He had the knowledge from that book to make things. So man can do many amazing things. It's just we don't have the knowledge of how to do it. So this is confirmed about the jinns. Allah talks in Falak and Nas of mankind and jinn. We do not fear them unless they allow you. If they put the fear in you, then you're creating the fear yourself. They are not as powerful as you. You are superior than them. The choice is up to you. If you understand, knowledge is the key to power. If you understand the knowledge that Allah has given you, they cannot harm you. If things like that happen, recite the Quran. Recite the Quran. And what is interesting, there's many people that says they have people possess their house, and I recommend, and they have, some of them cannot read the Quran. They play the Quran on a CD or on the computer. Wherever you play the Quran, the jinns will not come, but the angels will come. You recite the Quran all night long. If you can recite it yourself, it's even better for you. But if you cannot, get the recorded version. And I'll tell you one story just to show how powerful. I had one friend of mine had a shop. They're not Muslim people, and one of his worker, a lady that works there that prepares the food for the restaurant, she had told me there was a black man, like a black outlander man, always sits on her bed. And what was interesting, they're from Poland, and her brother in Poland, exact same description happens to him. I had given her copies of Ayatul Kursi that she photocopied and Quran CD to tell her to play, and since she did that, the jinn never appeared back. She did that for her brother, and the same thing. You don't have to be a Muslim to recite the Quran, or even have knowledge to recite. The power of the Quran, the frequency that Allah has given in the word, and the power He's given in the word is so superior that the jinns cannot penetrate that. It doesn't matter how powerful they are, the jinns cannot penetrate the mighty words of the Creator, Allah, who created them and us. So I'm just wrapping up now on the jinns. So this is just in a nutshell about a little more details of the jinns and their creation. We'll do another talk about the angels at a later date, and I thank you all very much for your patient hearing, and I hope this knowledge benefits you, and the knowledge of reading Surah Fatiha, reading the Ayatul Kursi, Falak, Nas, protects you against the jinns and Iblis. Ameen. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. قل رب الناس مالك الناس إله الناس من شر وسوسة الناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل رب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر نفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله لا إله إلا الله والحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع شيئا ما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا وهو العظيم. آمين. بسم الله الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الإنسان في كسر إن الذين آمنوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Ameen. May Allah bless you and reward you for your time. Ameen.